Coming up on Sports Weekly, one of baseball's best pitchers is arrested. And who was that man posing as Charles Barkley? It couldn't be the real thing. There, that's more like it. Bob Knight demonstrates some more vintage behavior while the pack draws closer to UCLA in the Pac-10. The pressure may be getting to some. We'll look back at a combative week in college ball. NFL teams get set to launch into their shopping sprees, while Michael tries to get the swing of things. Daytona Day is here, but is the race for speed sacrificing safety? Plus, we'll take a look back at the greatest showman on earth.
And the whole world will have to bear witness that Muhammad Ali is the greatest of all time.
Sports Weekly is presented by Delta Airlines.
Good morning and welcome to ESPN's Sunday Sports Day. 2.5 hours of everything you need to know about in the world of sports, unless you feel like you know everything already about Tanya and Nancy, Dan Jansen and his medal, Mo and Peekaboo, Torval and Dean, even Dave Letterman and his mom. I'm Mike Lupick, and Dick Schaap is on assignment at Lillehammer, where the real games begin Wednesday night, when Tanya Harding and Nancy Kerrigan, as crazy as this sounds, will actually start fighting over a gold medal on the ice. And if one of us had to be there, believe me, I'm glad it's Dick. But there are other things going on in sports as crazy as that sounds. The Bulls and Knicks will renew what has become a wonderful rivalry this afternoon at Madison Square Garden in New York. John Chaney, the Temple coach, and UMass's John Calipari will resume their own blossoming rivalry in Philadelphia Thursday night. But Chris Fowler, I honestly cannot recall a more anticipated matchup, and I'm serious, since Ali Frazier won than Harding Kerrigan won. Or maybe in light of everything that happened, it should be Harding Kerrigan 2 in Norway this week. Can you?
No, the thing about this is it cuts across sports boundaries. Everybody I've talked to this week, from cab drivers to guys at the dry cleaners who don't know a double axle from a truck axle, will tune in and watch this thing. It could top the Super Bowl's numbers.
Chris, as a New York tabloid guy, and take this for what it's worth, I can't remember a story consistently being on the front page of the tabs this way since Donna and Ivana Trump were breaking up. So make of that what you will.
Love those tabloids. Okay, Michael, we'll hear from our regular host, Dick Schaap. He will check in from Lillehammer a little bit later on. First, though, the latest from the games with the U.S. Alpine team in position to haul in a 5th medal. Downhill silver medalist Peekaboo Street had another strong run this morning in the women's combined. She stands in 2nd place after the first part of the combined. They'll have some slalom runs on Monday to determine the other part, but Peekaboo Street, that's the same order right there as the medalists in the women's downhill. Now to the hoops highlights. His Rocket teammates have been trying to get a message through to Vernon Maxwell lately. Shoot. They want him more aggressive on offense, with at least 7 shots per half, the magic number for Max. If last night is a clue, the message has been received and understood. Meanwhile, an exceptional performance for the visiting Suns, and particularly Charles Barkley. Exceptional because it was exceptionally bad. Was this Barkley with the air ball from behind the arc? Then the atrocious pass in the lane for the turnover. Then another bad pass, and then the pass through the legs, and then another air ball from 3. And finally, the technical, a frustrating night for Mr. Barkley. Big game for Akeem. KJ thinks he's got a layup. Akeem says, I don't think so. Paul Westphal, I don't think you're going to get the victory. The Rockets led by 16 in the first and by 23 in the third. They win it 106 to 88. Maxwell, 25 points. The Rockets have beaten the Suns 8 of the last 10 times they have played in Houston. The Suns' league-leading offense stifled 20 points below its average last night. They shoot just 39% to make it an all-around awful night. They got whacked on the boards. The Celtics visiting Oakland, and Don Nelson with the mock turtleneck look. All smiles before the game. D. Brown trying to wipe that smile off Nelly's face as the Celts built a 5-point lead. Nelly says thumbs down. The Warriors would turn it on, though. Billy Owens steps in, makes the steal, feeds Chris Gatling, who throws it down. The Warriors back within 3, and then Weber. Watch this play. Collects the rebound, brings it up court, splits 2 Celtics. Off balance, hangs, pumps, hits the shot. Weber, brilliant in the 4th quarter. He had 11 points. The whole Celtics team had 11 points in the 4th quarter. Weber finishes with 20 and 9 rebounds. The Celtics' second 7-game slide of the season. In the Delta Center, the Clips and Jazz and Ron Harper back in action and looking good. Nice passing in the 2nd quarter here. Danny Manning to Harper on the alley-oop. He had 30 points, 19 in the first half. More passing here. The mailman, the delivery to John Stockton. Jazz by 7 at the break. More good passing. Jay Humphries to Tom Chambers. 18 points, 8 boards for Chambers. The mailman, 26 and 11, along with 8 assists. 4 others in double figures. And Malone called the Jazz rare offensive balance, quote, kind of neat. Utah is rubbing off on him. To pucks now. The Stanley Cup finalists from last season are closing in on a nearly impossible feat. Something like the twice annual clash of neighbors Indiana and Purdue. The first meeting was an overtime classic won by the Boilers, in which Bob Knight was, shall we say, mildly annoyed about a huge gap in free throw attempts. Last night's rematch was like the trailer from the new movie Blue Chips. Knight imitating Nick Nolte, imitating Knight. Vintage stuff. Good theater. Furious after being hit with a technical. Pounding the thing. He wanted travel violations called on Knight on Purdue. A few minutes later, Glenn Robinson does get called for traveling. And Knight says, thank God. And Gene Cady plays to the crowd. It's good stuff. They also played some basketball last night. Hoosiers by 10, but up to turnover. Glenn Robinson throws it down. He had 39. 11 seconds to go. Tied at 80. Ian Stanback double teams Alan Henderson, but then Todd Lindemann gets open, gets the foul, gets the free throws. Last chance. Waddell to Link Darner. He doesn't see Robinson on the left, and his shot is blocked, and the Hoosiers hang on. They win it by 2. Bob Knight goes off the court, fists pumping, is excited. The crowd's pumped up, and then Knight refused to talk to the media. Damon Bailey, 25 points and 5 assists. Another key rematch, UCLA, Arizona. Damon Stoudemire, a terrible game against the Bruins the first time out, gets revenge, hits the 3. Even when they double-teamed him, he gets through the double team, hits the bank shot. Khalid Reeves, another guy who played poorly in Pauley, came back. The lob to Reggie Geary. The Cats win. Jim Herrick absorbs the loss. Reeves and Stoudemire make up for the off games at UCLA. 23 and 22 respectively last night. The brothers O'Bannon held to half their season average. Ray O's a good job on defense. The Cats within a game of the first-place Bruins in the conference. The Beast of the Big East, Connecticut and Providence. Second half in a close game. Michael Smith to follow his 1,000th career point. Then Donyell Marshall takes over the outlet to Ray Allen. And more Donyell on the defensive end. Michael Smith get it out. More Donyell on the offensive end, showing the range. Can't leave Malone out there. UConn pulls away. They win it by 8. Donyell Marshall had 27, Ray Allen 18, and the Huskies stay unbeaten at home this year. From the spring training legal blotter, 2-star pitchers from the world champion Blue Jays were arrested after a confrontation with police officers in Tampa last night. Dave Stewart and Todd Stoudemire are charged with battery on a law enforcement officer. Police tried to intervene in a nightclub dispute when they claim Stoudemire shoved one officer and Stewart punched another. Both were released on bond early this morning. On the morning menu still ahead, a pair of legends, very likely the best ever in their sports. Michael Jordan now on a new stage. Muhammad Ali still on the stage after all these years. Also, not even the early bird could catch the worm in San Antonio last night. Explosiva, a big rematch and an upset in boxing last night. Michael Carbajal lost the first pro fight of his career and 2 flyweight titles. A split decision went to Humberto Gonzalez of Mexico. Gonzalez was bleeding from round 3 on, but he battled back. Our Saturday wrap includes a couple of thrillers on the ice, a very unusual feat from Dennis Rodman, and also some excellent college basketball games. We'll start in the ACC, Carolina and Virginia. And Eric Montross will miss the free throw here, but keep an eye for Jerry Stackhouse, the freshman, flying in for the follow. Second half, Cavs up 4. But Jerry McInnes leads the comeback, the drive, the leaner, and then Montross. The tough move inside and the foul, a 17-1 run, and the Heels win it by 7. Arkansas and Ole Miss in the SEC. David Johnson, the anticipation, sneaks in, makes the steal, and finishes tied at 36 at the break, and the Razorbacks would pull away. Corliss Williamson on the alley-oop. Arkansas wins it by 17, 7 in a row over the twice-beaten Hogs. Big East, Syracuse, and BC. The Orangemen led early thanks to plays like this. Red Autry, the drive, the football carry, the cup, the hold, the shot. Orange led by 4. Malcolm Huckabee throws up the prayer at the halftime buzzer, gets fouled. Doug Flutie loves the 4-point play. Tied at 45. Second half, more Boston College. Huckabee the 3, the foul again, another 4-point play. BC wins it. Spurs and Heat. Dennis Rodman was all over the place last night. Robinson the miss, the worm with the throwdown. More Rodman. Vinny Del Negro misses the layup. Worm with a spike. 26 rebounds for Rodman. And watch this, because it's rare. The Worm, the turnaround three. 13 points more. College basketball scores. Georgia Tech wins a thriller, hanging on to beat Wake Forest in what Bobby Cremins called a must-win game. Our weekly poetry alert now. To get a transcript of this, well, you're not going to want a transcript of this. Trust me. Here goes. The commish gave Granado a most serious spanking, while the computer dropped Monica out of its ranking. Critics slammed the acting of Shaq Daddy Diesel, while Tanya was stalked by the tabloid show weasels. The Tribe landed yet another Expo defector, while the Kings reacquired a Gretzky protector. Mike Tirico presents our weekly list of miscellaneous stories you might have missed.
The wound in her back is healing, but for Monica Seles, the psychological scarring is taking much longer to mend. Since the attack last April in Germany, Seles has yet to take center stage, and this week she announced she will remain off the tour for an indefinite period of time. Once the top-ranked player on the court, her long absence has now led to Monica being completely dropped from the rankings. Looking to move up in the rankings of the newly formed AL Central, the Cleveland Indians went north of the border once more, trading for the Expos' Chris Nobholz. Lefty Nobholz 9-8 last year, an ERA of 4.09. The third Montreal pitcher to join the Cleveland staff this offseason, with Dennis Martinez and Brian Barnes. Corey Pavin never takes match play style golf lying down. He started the LA Open final round one shot behind Fred Couples, but came on with a 3-under 68 to win by 2. Pavin finishing with a 13-under par 271. Back on the other coast, Rocky Thompson shot a record-tying 61 in his comeback victory in the Senior Tour's Suncoast Classic. In a rock-solid performance, the mayor of Toco, Texas, made 10 birdies to finish 12 under. 15, the number that L.A. King Tony Granado is dealing with. That's his suspension, stemming from this stick to the head of Chicago's Neil Wilkinson. It ties for the third longest suspension in NHL history. The Kings may have lost Granado, but prodigal son Marty McSorley has come back home to once again guard the body of the great one, if you will. Traded by the Kings to the Penguins, McSorley returns after having racked up 139 penalty minutes while scoring 3 goals with 18 assists in 47 games in a Pittsburgh sweater. Also on the move, Tanya Harding packed her skates and headed for the Northern Lights of Lillehammer.
I just want to thank everyone for their support, and I'm really excited. And just keep believing in me, and I'm going to go there and I'm going to win.
And one of the first things she did once she got to Lillehammer was to pose for a group picture with fellow skater and rival Nancy Kerrigan. Speaking of things north, the CFL nabbed Florida State sophomore receiver Tamarick Vanover, who signed with the expansion Las Vegas Posse. In his 2 seasons as a Seminole, Tamarick trotted to 1,747 combined yards and 12 touchdowns. In the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs are hoping to go au natural this year. No, they're not getting rid of their uniforms, but they are getting rid of the artificial surface, and they hope to install a grass field at Arrowhead Stadium in time for the '94 season. Once the grass grows, 4 out of 5 AFC West teams surveyed will be doing it with dirt. Once again, they're doing it in Dallas, the Super Bowl winners taking to the streets for what's become an annual victory lap. And don't look now, but Shaq is attacking Hollywood. O'Neal courting a movie career with the release of Blue Chips. And at the premiere, it was apparent he stood head and shoulders above his co-stars.
Critics, however, not all that enthused with Shaq's acting. No more poems, I promise. But coming up, we'll put a wire on Michael Jordan and his batting coach for an inside listen at spring training's biggest stories so far. And next, we'll talk some football. Fred Edelson's insight on the NFL's Men on the Move. Here, when you have to get out your manual and figure out what the NFL means by transition and franchise players, it's also what the NFL had in mind, keeping themselves in the headlines in the offseason. This has been a very busy offseason. A lot of guys could be on the move. The high-profile free agent, Scott Mitchell, had his chance to shine, of course, when Marino was hurt. The Moose, Darryl Johnson, a Pro Bowler. Another Cowboy Pro Bowler in '94, Nate Newton, is a free agent. Another top offensive lineman for the 49ers, Guy McIntyre, appeared in the last 5 Pro Bowls. For the Chargers, John Carney, 3rd in the AFC in points. If you want a kicker, he is available. A lot of strong pass rushers available as free agents in this offseason. Richard Dent, the veteran, coming off a great '93. Sean Jones, 13 sacks last year, is available. Cowboys' Ken Norton, a 6-year veteran, one of the other Dallas players that can be had. For the Eagles, Seth Joyner, high-profile Eagle, one of a couple that is out there. The Packers' Tony Bennett, 36 career sacks, another of the top pass rushers available. Ricky Jackson, 115 career sacks, may change uniforms. For the Dolphins, Louis Oliver with his 21 career picks is available. Nate Odoms, great 1993, tied for the NFL lead with 9 picks, is out there. And so is his teammate, the 5-time Pro Bowler, the special teamer, Steve Tasker. So it figures to be a busy couple of weeks. And for insight on this maze of possible moves, we bring in Fred Edelstein from Philadelphia, actually from Bethlehem, PA. He's followed the star there, and maybe that's appropriate because a lot of teams are looking for saviors, Freddie, especially at quarterback. What do you see happening as far as player movement? Let's start with Mitchell.
Well, Chris, I talked to Tony Agnon, who is Scott Mitchell's agent, last night, and he told me that Mitchell has a visit scheduled with the Lions this week and probably the Vikings, with the Bears probably coming up next week. Now, Norv Turner called him yesterday, so he will be visiting the Redskins. 2 other teams, the Saints and the Rams, have inquired. The problem with the Saints, however, is that they wanted Mitchell to go through a workout, and he didn't want to jump through that hoop. And the Rams right now seem to be very focused on Warren Moon.
Well, I saw Warren Moon at a dinner last night. He was kind of mum on the subject, but there obviously is a big issue down there, quarterback in Houston. Moon, Cody Carlson, who's going to leave?
The signal has pretty much been sent that they're going to keep Carlson and move Warren. Warren's position is, if that's the way it's going to be, he wants it to happen as soon as possible. Talked about the Rams really pursuing him. I think Warren wouldn't mind the Detroit Lions because it fits the profile of a team that's ready to win with Barry Sanders if they got a solid quarterback. The Atlanta Falcons intrigue him because of June Jones, who used to work with him in Houston. The thing is that the Falcons right now seem very hot to trot on Jeff George, and they're in active trade negotiations with the Colts to get Jeff George. One other thing, if the Colts do trade Jeff George, look for Jim Harbaugh to wind up in Indianapolis with Bill Tobin, who drafted him originally in Chicago. So it could be a lot of quarterbacks on the move. What about defensive players? What's this we hear about Joyner and Simmons trying to make themselves a package deal? Well, Jim Solano is the agent for both of those guys, and I talked to Solano last night. He said you can definitely get both of those guys cheaper than individually. Simmons is looking for $3.7 million a year. Joyner is looking for about $3.3. Now, the first team to call, not surprisingly, was Buddy Ryan and the Phoenix Cardinals. Joyner is going to be visiting the Cardinals and the Denver Broncos. The 49ers and the Dolphins are heavily interested. Simmons is going to also be visiting the Cardinals with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You've got the Washington Redskins, the New York Jets, also very interested in him, and the Denver Broncos. If you're looking for a more of an economic linebacker, maybe Tony Bennett. As far as defensive line, maybe Sean Jones. All right, Freddie, thank you very much. Get back to the phone. Keep working those phones. Should be a lot going on between now and draft day. Appreciate your time this morning. Take it easy, Chris. Still ahead in the show. Strong words and strong labels from Mr. Barkley. No surprise. But what he says this time may surprise you. Plus, the Hoops review, including the press conference that put John Chaney in hot water.
You know, I'm just not in the mood for the Winter Games this year. Maybe it's because I can't find them. All I can find on the Olympic station is some touchy-feely girl story. They even did a piece about Norwegian moose. Look, the only moose I'm interested in is Bullwinkle. If CBS wants women to watch, they should get someone the ladies really want. Fabio. Yeah, right. Bring him in on a Viking ship and let him try to light the torch. Doesn't he look like Don Shula? As for me, give me Momo. I want to see live action. I want to feel the tension of athletic competition, especially with Americans. Nobody can heat things up like Americans. We've got Harding and Kerrigan, don't we? And right now, there's only 2 other Americans who could melt the ice faster. Chaney and Calipari.
The top hog is happy. Arkansas is back on top of the polls this week. Gave us a piece of payback that all the White House sets were locked in on, plus upsets that Harry Truman would appreciate and a conflict that needed FDR to mediate. Here's our President's Day weekend Hoops review.
Our first president, George Washington, led the United States in its early years by example. The new old #1 team, Arkansas, is also leading the country in the best way it can, by winning. On Wednesday, Arkansas avenged its first loss of the year by trouncing Alabama 102-81. The Razorbacks ran away in the second half with a 16-2 run led by Corliss Williamson, who ended the night with 20 points. One of the great presidential upsets of all time occurred in 1948 when Harry Truman rallied in the polls to defeat Thomas Dewey. Upsets dominated college hoops this week. Tuesday, number 3 Connecticut dropped a heartbreaking 1-point loss to Villanova. A 3-pointer by Eric Ebers with 2 seconds left sent UConn to only its 3rd loss of the year. Thursday, 2 more top 5 teams fell in major upsets. Number 2 North Carolina dropped its 2nd consecutive game. Clemson avenging a 44-point loss earlier this year to the Tar Heels with a 77-69 victory. And UNC Charlotte also played David to Louisville's Goliath. 38% shooting by the Cardinals helped UNC Charlotte to the 64-62 win. The only president in U.S. history to ever come back and serve a 2nd term after losing a re-election was Grover Cleveland. Tuesday night saw one of the greatest comebacks in college basketball history. Down by 31 in the second half, Kentucky chipped away and came back. The Wildcats scoring the final 9 points of the game and amazingly pulled out the win, 99-95. Our 3rd president, Thomas Jefferson, lived his life in a philosophical manner. Someone who was more philosophical this week, Northwestern's head coach Ricky Birdsong, who finally spoke out about his future plans.
I can say that the university desires to have me return as coach, but they want to make sure, the debate, there's been a range of whether this was genius or whether it was insanity. And obviously I'm leaning toward genius, and some others are leaning toward insanity.
And college hoops could have used a president like Franklin D. Roosevelt to mediate the John Calipari-John Cheney feud this week. What happened next is, as FDR said, a day in infamy.
You can't get that together. You're the threat guy. Shut up, guy. You're the threat guy. I'm killing you. You remember that. When I see you, I'm going to kick your ass. Kick your ass.
After 2 days of cooling off and a 1-game suspension imposed by Temple on Cheney, Cheney responded to the incident in an emotional and apologetic manner.
I want to apologize to Coach John Calipari and the students, fans, and supporters of both Temple University and the University of Massachusetts, and all young persons and all others who witnessed all or part of this incident. I let you down.
No coach turns his own psyche inside out like John Cheney. He should be on his best behavior when UMass visits Temple in the rematch Thursday night on ESPN. Now with their takes on this latest coach's explosion, Mike Lupica and Bill Rhoden from New York.
I'm joined right now by Bill Rhoden of the New York Times. Bill, why do you think John Cheney, who you've known forever, did what he did?
John is just a very volatile coach, and he's very honest with his emotions. It wouldn't have mattered whether he had been in a crowded press room or in a back alley. Once something gets him to snap, he just snaps. And it was a bad situation, bad timing, but he's just a very volatile guy who could sometimes be a little crazy.
Has he learned his lesson? Will we ever see a repeat of this?
Probably. May see it this afternoon when they play Louisville.
Back to you, Chris Fowler.
Okay, guys, some coaches are concerned, though. I've seen too many coaches snap like that lately. NBA and spring training stuff still ahead, and next, controversy follows tragedy at Daytona. Many believe there is a connection between the 2 fatal crashes leading up to today's Stock Car Super Bowl.
Only Embassy Suites hotels give you a suite with 2 big rooms, a free cook-to-order breakfast, and evening beverages on the house. Because only Embassy Suites is twice the hotel. Call 1-800-EMBASSY.
Hi, Paul Ryder, MCI. With over 10 million members, Friends and Family is saving a lot of people a lot of money.
Now we have a way to save our Friends and Family customers even more.
It's called Best Friends.
Nice name, huh?
Best Friends from MCI is simply the least expensive way for 2 friends to call each other.
If you're a Friends and Family member, just choose one MCI customer in your circle.
And you'll save 40% on every call to that person from now on.
Give us a call so you and your best friend
can double your Friends and Family savings on calls to each other.
We're back with an AquaTread for performance sedans. Introducing the new Eagle AquaTread. 2 aqua channels move water away for outstanding wet traction and performance. The new Eagle AquaTread, only from Goodyear.
Is that Michael? Yeah, starts college next year.
That's mine. When Mike told me the price of his first choice,
I know what you mean. I got this broker at Payne Weber. She put me in a 0 coupon
to cover college.
Well, when did she do that? It's got to be 10, 11 years.
10 years ago? How did she know that's what you needed?
She asked.
Jesse, you're all set for your nightly frog hunting expedition here in the Everglades. What kind of batteries do you use to run that headlamp there?
We use a Duracell.
Is that because Duracell batteries give you more frogs to the battery, or what?
They seem to last long because sometimes you're out all night, and if they don't last all night, by daylight, you have a hard time finding your way back.
Yeah, ever look up at the stars and wonder why Duracell batteries last?
No, I've never really figured out. I know they seem to work great.
Well, probably too busy catching frogs to ponder the big issues.
Duracell. No other battery lasts longer.
If I kiss one, maybe it'll tell me why.
This time, controversy has followed yet another week of grief within the NASCAR family. The proximity in time and also the similarity of unexplained fatal crashes by Neil Bonnet and Rodney Orr at Daytona has sent shockwaves even through these drivers well aware of the dangers of their sport. A debate is raging in Daytona garages, which impacts today's race. As Jerry Punch reports, the topic is tires.
There hadn't been a car wreck yet that's been on Goodyear, so obviously the guys are going. The Hoosiers appeared to be a little faster.
Has nothing to do with tires. The fellas over here that are experienced with good teams, with good cars, we haven't wrecked. We haven't had any trouble.
During Speed Weeks 1994, the primary topic of conversation in the garage area is tires. For the first time in 4 years, there are two competing tire companies here, Goodyear and Hoosier. Now, whether you're talking about your passenger car at 55 miles per hour or a Winston Cup stock car at nearly 190, the sole contact with the asphalt are these. Now, it's that contact patch or footprint that has led to serious controversy here this week.
This big tire will give you, looking up from glass, a total of 7.5. If this is 7.5 inches and that's 7.5 inches, that's the size, the total square inches touching the ground. You've got 3,500 pounds, whatever the horsepower is, great drivers and so forth, and the whole thing touches the ground with 4 little patches like this. So anything you change, you make it wider, narrower, softer, harder, you change the way its construction is, the way it flexes, it's very important, not only here at Daytona, but every place else.
For a good race tire, you want an even tread profile where the temperature is even across the tire and you got an even wear. And our tire and the competitor's tire were similar in tread width, similar in amount of tire being used. And in fact, this super speedway tire of ours is a little bit flatter profile than what's been used here in the past.
Entering Daytona, at least 20 cars, including some veterans, had committed to run Hoosier tires. But after a week filled with frustration and disappointment, not a single driver will start the Daytona 500 on Hoosiers. That includes pole sitter Loy Allen.
It qualifies well. It feels good by yourself. It feels good for 5 or 6, 8 laps. But when the heat in the tire builds up and the air pressure builds up, the tire just isn't very fast, and you have to back out of the throttle and can't keep up.
If we'd have been still running good, we probably went ahead with the Hoosiers. But then after watching the cars that did run the Hoosiers, they fell off the pace pretty quick, so we feel like that was the right move we made.
All through the month of January here, we were just fast, and we were really pleased with the performance of the tire. But with all the racing that goes on here in Daytona in the month of January and February, conditions have changed. And we came here, I readily admit, we came here a little bit conservative. We did not want to have to be a problem here at all. Being the first race in the Cup season, we wanted to be a little bit safe, a little bit conservative, and it bit us.
As has the negative publicity surrounding the two tragedies that occurred earlier in Speed Weeks.
It's a terrible, terrible circumstance that those guys were on Hoosier tires at the time of their accidents. But it's purely coincidental. If it was a tire failure, we wouldn't be here.
In Daytona for SportsCenter, I'm Jerry Punch.
All right, Jerry, and more from Daytona later on SportsCenter, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, as Jerry visits with Dale Earnhardt. Is this finally his year? And also coming up, a special visit with Muhammad Ali is ahead. He's operating on smaller stages these days, but the magic show goes on. Meanwhile, the NBA's show provided a chance for Scottie Pippen to seize the stage. We'll check out post-All-Star break highlights.
A lot of MCI customers confess they didn't get the savings they hoped for.
We tried MCI on that friends and family thing. I was very disappointed in the plan.
I mean, if you want to give us savings, give us savings. Just give it to us.
Introducing AT&T True USA Savings. If you spend $25 a month, you'll get 20% off your AT&T long-distance calls. 20% off, guaranteed. And the fact is, 2 out of 3 friends and family users on basic or prime time will save more on True USA Savings.
I thought we were going to save a lot of money, and we didn't.
The truth is, the average friends and family basic customer's discount is only 6%.
I'm going to switch back to AT&T.
Call us at 1-800-PICK-ATT. The call's free. Switching is free. And you get 20% off every call you make in the USA. Anytime, anywhere, to anyone you call.
Bye, MCI.
Call us at 1-800-PICK-ATT.
The real you coming through your true voice.
College basketball on a regular Monday. College basketball on Big Monday.
St. John's and Providence are definitely big. Tomorrow on Big Monday, presented by Bud Light.
See? It's a lot bigger.
Top Rank Boxing. Former heavyweight champion Tommy the Duke Morrison makes his return to the ring, and he's ready to rumble. Top Rank Boxing, tonight at 8 Eastern, only on ESPN.
Your done deal, starting with the baseball re-signings. And NBA headlines now. Sean Bradley's out for the season just when the 7'6" 76er was becoming consistently solid. A dislocated kneecap in Friday's loss put him on a stretcher. Meanwhile, reports this weekend that Reggie Lewis's death certificate supports the conclusion that the former Celtic had an abnormal heart that required further testing. Meanwhile, doctors nixed another trade. The Olden Polonies for Dwayne Coswell's swap was voided when Coswell failed his physical. All-Star game hangover? Forget about it. Instead, something about visiting the NBA's midseason circus seemed to inspire a lot of the league's luminaries, and it carried over some brilliant performances in the ensuing games, including an overpowering display by the Admiral. With the NBA's weekly review, here's Charlie Steiner.
Starlight, star bright, which hoop star would shine brightest this night? The NBA's nebula came together and exploded upon Minneapolis this week, and no one shone brighter than the Bulls' red-sneakered Scottie Pippen. Playing in his 4th All-Star game, but his first Star Wars minus Michael Jordan, Pippen popped 29 points on 9 for 15 shooting, 11 rebounds, won the MVP honors going away in the East's 127-118 victory. But spurred on by David Robinson, it turned out to be a heavenly week for the All-Stars. Quadruple doubles happen about as often as Haley's Comets. But the San Antonio star almost did it twice in 1 week. In the NBA Galaxy, no one has doubled in points, rebounds, assists, and blocks since 1990. But against the Pistons, David put on a Goliath performance. And against the Pacers, he almost did it again, just missing his 5th triple-double of the season. San Antonio now in the neighborhood of a 13-game winning streak. Another shooting star that carried over into the week, the Kings' Mitch Richmond. Against Philadelphia, Mitch pitched his 2nd career triple-double in Sacramento's 94-92 overtime win. Shaq's star keeps rising, and he keeps grabbing rebounds. Against Boston, he taketh away 24 times, scoring 10 of his 36 points in the final 4 minutes of the Magic's 102-92 win. And he didn't lose any sleep against Seattle, where he scored 38 points with 20 rebounds and 5 block shots in the 124-93 victory. Sir Charles' star is back in the sky. In his first game back since January 7th, Barkley averaged nearly a point a minute, getting 20 in 29 clicks as the Suns beat Portland 126-100. 2 stars shown over New Jersey. Against the Knicks, Kenny Anderson scored 29, with teammate Derek Coleman adding 23 with 16 rebounds to lead the Nets to an easy 103-83 victory over New York. Anderson continued his streak as he bit the bullets for a career-high 42 in a close 113-110 shootout. John Stockton's galaxy of star numbers, 9,009. Against the Clippers, he rocketed past the magic 9,000 assist mark in their 103-99 win, and now he ranks third on the career assist list behind Magic Johnson and Oscar Robertson.
It is time for face-off. Michael Jordan is in Florida trying to be a baseball player. So the player who may be the biggest NBA star is Shaquille O'Neal, who's still playing basketball in Florida. But Shaq has not exactly endeared himself to his fellow NBA stars. It seemed like they went out of their way last Sunday, double and triple teaming the kid, to make sure that the movie star slash rap star slash dunking guy needed about 3 hours before he got to do the right stuff in the NBA All-Star game. Do the other players resent Shaq's game and fame? And are they right to do so? That's the subject of today's face-off between Jackie McMullen of the Boston Globe and Bill Rhoden of the New York Times. Jackie goes on Shaq Attack first.
Okay, Bill, I'm Akeem Olajuwon. I'm Sean Kemp. I come to the All-Star game by myself. Shaq comes with 3 bodyguards. The game starts. He's going to dunk on my head. No way. Show me something else, Shaq. Show me a jump hook. Show me a follow-away. Don't think you're going to jam on my head in the big showcase game.
First of all, he'll show you his bank account, first of all. Bottom line, getting paid. They're jealous and they're envious. If Akeem is so, take some acting lessons and learn how to rap. Bottom line, this is about being multi-dimensional.
If I'm Scottie Pippen, did you notice what he did in that game? First thing he did was got the ball, looked at the three-point line, shot it, and said, Shaq, this is my game. It's not your turn yet. Everyone agrees Shaquille O'Neal's going to be a great basketball player. He's not there yet, so wait your turn.
See, but he doesn't take it that serious. In other words, his thing is he's there in terms of being a bully. He's not waiting in line paying dues. He said, you make me pay dues. That's what he told Elijah.
And that's what they did, young man. That's what those 3 blocks...
Ask Elijah one after that dunk.
Hey, man, the game was over. Those 3 block shots in the first 5 minutes told Shaq everything he needed to
Elijah
know.
one. They were giving Elijah one condolences after that dunk.
You know, look at Akeem's numbers at the end of the game. Whose would you rather have? I'll take the big fella from Houston.
I like it on face-off when somebody's willing to give up the jewelry.
Hey, give me that. That's real.
That's Shaq.
Hey, no, seriously, let me ask you one question.
Get the money, Shaq.
Let me ask you one question. Was this like the same sort of playground initiation rite that we saw last Sunday, like the time that Isaiah and guys wouldn't pass the ball to Michael in the All-Star game?
I don't think it was quite as nasty as that. I think it was just like, young man, we know you're going to be great, but show us something else first.
See, I think people are missing the point. Shaq comes into this league, and he understands that the league is about making as much money as you can. And most of his money is coming outside of the league. I think that's what the players resent.
Coming up on the hour, Jackie, Bill, and I will be joined by another veteran.
I'm willing to practice and work at it, and so patience is very easily to come by right now for me. I don't really know what I'm doing sometimes, so I'm taking my time and learning what rituals are each day.
Okay, Michael, now that's the right start as far as being short to the ball. That's the right start, but there's no finish there. So if you went ahead and finished the swing, you would have been able to get that ball in the air.
During his 22 years coaching in the majors, Walt Riniak has instructed the likes of Wade Boggs, Carl Yastrzemski, and Jim Rice. He admits he was initially skeptical about Michael Jordan becoming one of his pupils.
I'll be honest with you. You got me here now. When I first heard about it, quite honestly, I was a little, you know, disenchanted, I guess is the right word. But after talking to him, I walked right out to the outfield. And, you know, I don't know if I should be saying this on camera or not, but I walked right out to the outfield. I don't know Michael Jordan from a hole in the wall. I walked right out to the outfield when he was all by himself. And I introduced myself, and I looked him dead in the eyes, and I says, there's one thing I got to ask you. There's one thing I got to ask you. He looked at me dead in the eyes, and I says, are you serious about this? And he answered, dead. Dead serious.
I didn't expect it to be easy. I didn't think I would just jump from the basketball court and then hit home runs. I knew that I have to go out and learn all over again.
When's the last time Michael Jordan had to learn anything about sports? He's got a lot to learn now, and Riniak doesn't want to overload him. He'll concentrate on Jordan's head, his legs, and his follow-through. It's off to class with Jordan and Riniak.
If you can learn to use your hands the right way, you can get away with a lot of mistakes. The head does more than just allow you to watch the ball. It has an effect on what happens to the swing, what happens to your hands. You don't go back first. You need to go back to gather yourself up, to have something to get off with, you know, like in golf. You know, you go back, load up, boom, get off, okay?
And I'm coming from...
You just stag, exactly, exactly. That's right. Good move. Hold it for a second. Okay. Tell me, what are you doing? Show me.
No.
Go ahead, how you gonna do it? Okay. Suggestion, when he goes back, when he starts to go back, you go back, okay?
That's what I've been saying.
All right.
Jordan has impressed the Sox coaches with his stamina and eagerness to learn. He and Riniak will continue to team up early each morning for a half hour of private tutoring, even when the entire team assembles on Tuesday. In Sarasota, I'm Andrea Kramer, ESPN.
Okay, and coming up next, a pleasure and a privilege, hanging out with the greatest of all time, a visit with Ali the Showman vintage '94, and a fond look back at his most memorable moments outside the ring, toe-to-toe with Frazier on Wide World of Sports.
This time it seems to be for real, because Joe Frazier is really angry. Muhammad called him ignorant, and he's really angry.
They speak it in England, France, and Germany. It sounds the same in the U.S. and Mexico as it does in Hong Kong and Tokyo. It's the international language of business. And wherever it's spoken, Delta Airlines can put you right in the middle of the conversation. And then we'll bring you back to that place where you don't have to say a word to be understood. Delta Airlines.
This is great. This is great.
You are not going to believe what the MC has come up with.
A totally free day of calling.
To your circle members.
You pick it, and it's free.
Absolutely free. You can pick your own special day.
You know, like
Valentine's Day. Your sister's birthday.
a bad hair day.
Your son's birthday.
Your anniversary.
Your dog's birthday.
I have a dog. Graduation day.
My dog's name is Chief.
Summer solstice.
I'd call Chief.
Any day you want.
Free. No one else gives you that.
It's great.
Hey, Jimmy, I got a tux that'll go great with that hair.
Watch the ESPYs. It's the only all-star game in a tuxedo. Hosted by Dennis Miller, presented by General Motors and Reebok. Monday, February 28th at 9 p.m. only on ESPN.
Coming up at the bottom of the hour on SportsCenter, the Knicks and the Bulls quickly become the most intense rivalry in the NBA.
Do I dislike them? Point blank, yes.
If you think back to your high school days when you had to play your crosstown rivals and everything, I guess, in the community was riding on that game for bragging rights, well, it's that tenfold.
Plus our Sunday conversation with Lillehammer's golden boy, Olympic hero Tommy Moe.
This is just one big dream that I'm going to wake up from, and it's not all going to be true.
Sports Weekly is presented by Delta Airlines. You'll love the way we fly.
He belonged with Brando, Sinatra, Carson, Jagger. Among the consummate performers of his era, Muhammad Ali, the showman, became intertwined, inseparable from Ali, the athlete. Even now, afflicted by Parkinson's, the magnetic persona shines through. Charlie Steiner takes us inside the champ's world today and looks back at the Ali legacy with those who knew him well.
He was a star probably from the day he was born.
He was a seller. Let me tell you, he was a pitchman. He knew from the fact that you could be a good fighter all you want, but if nobody's paying any attention to it, you just was not going to do good business.
Give me Joe Frazier and George Foreman the same night with no rest between them. I want Frazier first because he's a little tougher. He takes a better punch, I think, and he's harder and he don't get tired. Only 10 rounds, not 15. 10 rounds with each man. I want Frazier first, whether I knock him out, decision him. Then I want Foreman to come in second. The man that beats me, if he's lucky, he's the champion.
Joe Frazier is in trouble. I predict he will not stand a chance. Get to your theaters.
He's the only one in the world that not only thought of a gimmick, but did it with such flair and so much comedy and without evil intention. You know, it was just making fun of somebody. Schoolyard stuff when you were a kid. But he seemed to know how to get under the skin of these big, tough guys.
Sit down, Joe. Why you think I'm in? Sit down, Joe. Huh? Sit down quick. Why you think I'm in? The brothers are here. This too? No. Sit down quick, Joe.
Well, we're having a scene, as you can see, and it's hard to tell whether it's clowning or for real between the two fighters. This kind of thing is been going on all along in terms of promotion of the fight, and this time it seems to be for real, because Joe Frazier is really angry. Muhammad called him ignorant, and he's really angry.
For the first minute, I can see a good hook and a right cross. It's all over. The fight might not go 2 minutes.
Wherever I go, all I hear is Larry Holmes. Made me sick. Holmes, wherever I go. You gonna fight Holmes? You gonna fight Holmes? What about Holmes? What about Holmes? When you gonna meet Holmes? Are you ducking Holmes? I got tired of Holmes stuff. So I said, get me Holmes. Holmes.
As if Ali didn't have enough of a legacy, he also made trash talking an art form.
I come from a lower economic neighborhood, and he brought out what was really a guy who was woofing while he was winning. You play a certain card and you talk to the guy you're playing with. And that didn't bother me at all. And the word in the neighborhood, of course, is if you're going to talk like that, then you better back it up, which is actually what he did.
And the whole world will have to bear witness that Muhammad Ali is the greatest of all time.
And he's still probably the greatest show on earth, because he can still do magic, tell jokes. Still a fine guy. Nobody can attract attention like he does, even at this point. The guy's a wonder.
You realize he's a living legend. Thank God he's around. I mean, he's not our guy that we know from before, but he still exists. The mind is sharp. He's glib. He loves to entertain. His tricks, with that phony thumb and everything, a levitation trick. What the hell? He's magnificent. Forget about it.
Ali's performances now are not in front of 20,000 people at a pop or millions. Instead, they're with individuals.
Who's that talking that trash? You're the greatest, man. The greatest of all time.
Legends don't get old, right, Ali?
Tough trash.
That's right. You got our heart on fire.
You ain't dumb as you
Only
look.
other people scared to say it, but I ain't scared.
You ain't dumb as you look.
Somebody said that Tyson would beat you in your prime.
Nigga, please.
Man, I told him they was crazy. You gotta beat that woman first. So we ain't worried about Mike.
I had a customer came in here. He said Mike Tyson would beat Ali. He would beat Ali's body up bad. Okay, that's what he said, Champ. Yo, Tyson, I was about to fight him right here. You know, I mean, I was about to do him.
You call me a nigga?
No.
She says you're bigger.
More than 30 years have come and gone, and one thing about Ali remains the same. He never met a camera he didn't like, and no camera ever hit him back.
How much this cost me?
And that is just a taste of what you'll see on Muhammad Ali, still the greatest, a special ESPN show, Friday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Set your VCR. That will do it for now. We'll see you on the 60-minute Sports Center, besides the conversation with Tommy Moe and a look at the Bulls-Knicks. Also, Dale Earnhardt, a live interview with him before he gets in his car. The sports reporters are coming up next. Mike Lupica, the ringleader from New York. See you on Sports Center.